is up and running. Okay, roll call, please.
All board members are present this evening.
Okay, approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support?
Okay, moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mr.
Yes.
Howell?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, consent agenda approval.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support?
Moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mrs. Chenoweth?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Wow, we were fine. Announcements and information inquiry. Fall Festival will be October 6, 2018. October 9th is the last day to register for November 6th, 2018 general election. And the hazardous waste day is October 27th from 8 to noon at Milford High School, entrance off of Lone Tree Road.
Can I ask you a question? I'm just curious about the hazardous waste. How are we off Lone Tree? So what's the plan to line them up, or what's the, what do you think? I was just curious.
We're gonna
I
bring
can't
them
even
off
make-
the
I can't
Lone
make a
Tree,
decision. I'll be out of town.
and then they're gonna come all the way down in front of the gymnasium, or the theater.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna be in that lot.
Oh,
And then they'll separate into 2 lanes in that lot, and then they'll go out one at a time from there. And what it does is it gives us all the distance of Lone Tree, all the way from the, the horse
Sure.
arena, all the way down the front. And it'll allow other people to enter through the Milford Road for other events.
Right.
Do they exit down to Milford Road though, down the boulevard?
They can just exit out the boulevard into Light.
And they make sure that there's no plays or anything going on that day now?
Correct.
can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
I've suggested this for years. Maybe somebody could call the road commission and see if they could have that light working on that Saturday. It's gonna be blinking. It's gonna be a pain for people to get out, because if it's Saturdays, that thing shuts off. So I've complained for that for years, and they won't change it, but that thing's been blinking for years. Football Friday nights,
Oh, because it starts blinking at
it starts
night.
blinking, and it's just a pain no matter when to get out of there. So maybe we could make a request.
If they won't do it, I got a key to the box.
Well, if they could get it to run on Saturday, because it'd be a lot easier for everybody to be able to get out of there. 'Cause now that's a pain, especially if you're going left.
I'll
Just
have,
a suggestion.
Karen Provo call.
There's no football game set on that day.
It's Good Fridays.
No, it's gonna be Friday night, so no.
On Saturday, there's.
Well, there might,
Your place on Saturday.
no,
Middle
they'll be
school.
done, I think, at that point. They're done.
Okay, so, no other public comment?
Thank you.
You're welcome. I would like to, even though there's nobody really here to hear this, but can see it on the
I have
video. Judy Cooper has been out with some health issues, and Karen Jensen just came back today from being out for weeks, and Chantel Green stepped up to the plate in a huge way.
Yep.
And so we
Massive
need
job.
to recognize that she really stood up to the job when you got your entire treasurer's department. The key people down, it
going
still
on down
kept
there?
running, so.
Yeah, and Tammy, I want to give a shout out to you, because you've stepped up and kind of covered us and worked with the community roundtable and the neighborhood network, and I really appreciate you stepping in for me.
And the nice thing about all the people that we work with in the office is
Buck up.
everybody is helping
Yeah.
in one way or another. The floaters came in such big
It was great.
help to have them available to help cover that time, and just everyone's just got this attitude of let's do what it takes to get it done.
It was an absolute firestorm. It couldn't have all fallen into. We survived.
All right, so, on
So,
that
yeah.
note, shout out to all of us.
Comment. November 11th, Sunday is Veterans Day this year, on Sunday. There's 15 different events that I'm scheduled throughout from the 7th all the way to the 15th. On November the 11th, I will be leading the Detroit Veterans Day Parade. I will not be in the community. So I don't know if the Township and the Milford have anything planned. I would contact, or I can contact the Legion Commander and the VFW Commander, Tom, and say, if you guys want to do something, get a hold of Milford, get a hold of you. If there's going to be anything. Okay? Should be something. I'm just recommending that, don't forget, we should have it.
Well, if you would, at least have them respond to ASAP, so. we
Yeah,
can-
I've already got that all in motion,
Right.
but I want to bring it up tonight so that, you know, it's around the corner, you know, it's November 11th, but it's coming up. People need to publicize that, and we need to know about it.
a
Okay?
little over a month away.
Is the federal holiday on Monday?
I don't know that.
I'd
November the
have to check
11th
my
is
calendar.
Veterans Day,
Okay.
so.
Can I say one more thing then? We'll piggyback on that. Our veteran ceremony at Lakeland's the 13th. And if any of you, I know some of you have veterans, significant others, if you'd like to come, I'll get you the time in maybe in the afternoon. I'd like to invite everybody if you want to come over to Lakeland. It's a great ceremony. And
It's a great ceremony.
Joe got me started years ago. We met and kind of kicked it off, and been going ever since. So I'll get you, if you're interested, I'll get you the date. The date is the 13th. I'll get you the time and everything. Usually you arrive around 11. The ceremony goes from like 12 to 2 in that time frame. So if you want to come, you're all invited.
Yeah, get us the data and we can put it on the sign too.
Yep.
Okay. Cool, thanks.
I did confirm that Milford will be on the Wednesday. I ran into Dave. and
Oh, they are?
I never got an email from him, but I saw
Okay.
him. So I said, well, that's when I got you scheduled, so it is what it is.
Okay, thanks.
Done.
All right. Okay, we'll move on to new business. 8A. Charter Township of Highland Open Policy
B,
Statement.
actually.
It's B, should be B. not P. OPEB. Other post-employee benefits is what that stands for. So Judy Cooper is our investment.
Okay. At your place tonight, we have a memo to kind of explain what this is for. Basically, this amended investment policy, we had one previously in place, but because of the new GASB standards, which is Governmental Accounting Standards Board statement, we have a few more things that are expected out of LPL, that is our vendor. And Plant Moran's asked us to update our investment policy so that's crystal clear, so that they can say that they'll comply with it, so that they can get everything that the auditors need. Totally different for them to ask for the long-term expected rate of return and the expected real rate of return, and don't ask me what the difference is between the two of them. So we've kind of worked back and forth between Plant Moran and LPL to make sure that it's agreeable with both of them. They're both pretty satisfied with it. So basically, we just need your approval on this to go ahead and put this in place.
All right.
I would make a motion to approve the amended OPED investment policy requirements.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, item B, Resolution 18-32 to adopt the adoption of the Oakland County Hazard Mitigation Plan. Our attorney, we gave the night off, I think he's probably appreciating that, made a recommendation to for a change in resolution to make it more clear of what Highland was adopting. And so what I'll do is I'll read that change. If you have a copy of the resolution, no, you might not in front of you. There's, I think, there's two different numbered items, and so Township of Highland Board of Trustees that, one, he recommends that we take and replace the first one with the following statement. The Oakland County Hazard Mitigation Plan, specifically including sections of the plan specific to Highland Township, is hereby adopted as an official plan of the Chowder Township of Highland. So, in a recommendation to an approval of this, it would be with that recommended change. So,
And, there's a spelling mistake in the title of that, too. Hazard only has one.
hazard, aardvark,
That's an animal, that is our
Yeah.
good catch.
animal, that's
So with corrections. Anybody like to
Then I
make,
would move to approve resolution 1832, adoption of the Oakland County Hazardous Mitigation Plan.
our support.
moved and supported, vote please.
I vote yes.
Yes,
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, next item, budget workshop. We're gonna start with the chief. He's got some whiz bang thing to,
You get it up there?
I'm hoping I can make it work for him.
Because I got emails in my. packet.
Oh, shoot. I hope this works. Let's see if this works. All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, tonight in front of you, you have our requested 2019 budget proposal. Everything's pretty much standard across the board with the exception of two items. There's a retirement payout funding for personnel, which is 206, 295, 000, 718, 000. And then the other change will be daily staffing for duty coverage. Again, 206, 290, 001, 821, 206 on your budgets.
In budget here.
Yeah, sorry, 206 section of the budget, which is fire.
So that'd be page 9. All right.
Put me up to the next one. We're gonna start with retirement changes. The current retirement system is based off of $100 a year for the employees after 15 years if they decide to retire. If they're a stellar member of the department, they get $100 a year. If they just want to be a member of the department to wear a t-shirt, they get $100 a year. That was one of the biggest complaints that I heard when I got here was the retirement system wasn't very fair. We're proposing a system that would be more curtailed towards or more designed towards the township's system. Go to the next one, please. This is the current system, again, $100 a year for all paid on-call firefighters after 15 years of service. If they leave, come back, and they were paid out once, they're done. They can't continue growing the money as they go. The proposed retirement system that we'd like to look at is an incorporation of the previous retirement system for all employees past 10 years of service. Payment. Proposed system would incorporate all the employees with more than 10 years of service from our department currently. From 2019 on, an annual payment will be made at the end of the fiscal year budget based on 5% of each qualified firefighter's direct pay. So after you become a firefighter, a certified firefighter as well as a EMT or higher, you come off probation and you get your time on the trucks, you come off probation. Once you come off probation, then you're a qualified firefighter. From that point on, 5% of whatever you'd make would be put into an account for you for retirement. The employees would not be entitled to control that money until after the 10 years. Kind of like a vesting system, which you guys are familiar with in the schools. Once they get 10 years in, then those monies will be released so that they can manage them, so that they can take loan, whatever the retirement system that we decide to go with, ICMA, AXA, whatever it is, whatever they will allow the employees to do with their money, they can do with their money, just like any other retirement system. Next slide, please. Funding for the previous year's service. Currently, there's 11 employees that would be negatively affected by this program. All 11 of the 11 employees, the least amount of time they have on the department is 14 years. If you add all 11 employees together, that equals 294 years of service. Think about that for a second. Almost 300 years of service between 11 employees. It's pretty considerable. Next slide, please. If you pay them out $100 for each year of service, that would equal $29,400 at the end of or for all those employees. That money would be put into the accounts for the 11 employees that already have that time of service. That way it doesn't affect them negatively. Chief Cole, Assistant Chief Cole, 50 years in the job. If he retires next year or he retires 2 years from now, if we eliminated the old system, he'd be entitled to $5,000 from the old system. If he retired in 2 years, he'd get 5% of whatever he made, which would be nowhere near the $5,000. So my thought is, the end of this budget year, we take the $29,400 out of my budget, which I will talk about funding for that, out of my budget and put it into the account for these 11 employees so that they're not negatively affected by the retirement system.
Ken,
Yes.
question that, so then next year they would get is that what you were saying, they'd get the 5% like everybody else?
Starting in
They-
2019,
Okay,
all employees that are qualified, have their certification, they're not on probation, will get 5% of their direct pay. So if they work a ton of shifts, they're gonna get 5% of that money. If they only work callbacks, they'll get 5% of whatever they make on callbacks. It's kind of you're gonna benefit from whatever you put into it.
how do they feel about that? Has this been proposed to them?
Yes, all this has been talked about at the last staff meeting. I mentioned that we were gonna be bringing it up at the budget workshop. This is a very definite improvement over our old system. Going back to the funding part, then I'll get to how we're gonna fund for it in the future. From the 2018,
Sorry.
from the 2018 budget, because we just started the 24-hour coverage over the past 2 years, it's kind of hard for me to fund for this year. I guesstimated the amount to be $527,000. Currently, at the trends we're at right now, we're averaging about $37,000 a month for payroll. At the end of the year, we should be at $445,000. That would leave $82,000 left in our payroll line item for firefighters, which is the 206, 290, 001, 821. Of that $82,000, I'd like to take $29,400 of it and put it into the account for the 11 firefighters, the ones that would be negatively affected by any retirement changes. That would make them whole going here on out. New retirement system will be instituted in 2019 at the end of the year. I've already allocated money in the line item, which is the 718 account. Approximately $27,000 we put into all 34 of my employees' retirement accounts. So whatever they worked, they'd get 5% of what they worked, and it would be put into a retirement account. Anybody with over 10 years on the job would be able to manage that money however they want. If they have less than 10 years on the job, it would be controlled by the township. And the reason we looked at doing that is, especially with a paid-on-call system, generally they'll come here, they'll get their training. After a couple of years, they'll get offered a job in a full-time department. We just put out a couple $1,000s training them, a couple $1,000s outfitting them, uniforms, everything that we put into them. It's a risk to us. By doing this after 10 years, not allowing them the money until after 10 years, any risk that we had is kind of an insurance plan for us. Any questions on the retirement system? How it would work, or? All right, next item. Staffing for 2019. Currently, we staff 2 firefighters 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year at Station 1. Staffing is covered by my paid-on-call employees. We've always, for multiple years, we've had coverage of the station. Usually it was I believe from 8 o'clock till 4 o'clock. When Assistant Chief Cole was in charge, he opened it up a little more and let some of them work. I got hired in late 2016. The command staff come up with a program to allow for 24-hour coverage. We also changed our pay format. It made it a little more modernized. So since 2017, we've been covering the township 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, with 2 firefighters. That's true 90% of the time. There are a few occasions where we only have 1 person on duty, and then there are some occasions where we have nobody on duty. Generally when that happens, I'll get a text. It's usually 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I go to the station, at least we have somebody at the station. One of the downfalls, with this is, depending on the time of year, vacations, injuries, just people not available, or day shifts, we have a lot of staff that are bordering on hitting that number for needing insurance or benefits of some sort. So let's go back to 2018. This was the approved budget for 2018. $527,000. We had $327,000 for duty shifts, and then $200,000 for emergency callback, public education, public relation events. So the total amount came up to, whoops, we're missing one thing. Nope, I'm sorry, go ahead. So the total amount came up to $527,000. This is the proposed budget for 2019. We're looking at changing it from 527, taking it to $441,336. We can do station coverage with $291,336, which is considerably less than what we budgeted for last year, and plan on about $150,000 for emergency callbacks and public education PR events. How are we going to do that? I'm proposing we hire 3 full-time firefighters. The 3 full-time firefighters at top, most risk to us would cost $111,000 a year for payroll, or $156,000 including their benefits. The firefighters would work a 53-hour work week, which would be 24-hour scheduled, and you'd have 1 firefighter per shift, 1 full-time firefighter per shift. We'll still have 2 people on duty, but the other person, or the other position, will be covered by the paid on call.
Somebody's always there
In case
something, yeah.
In case one of the paid on calls regular job requires that they leave early, or whatever the issue is, we'll always at least have 1 person on duty.
Ken, is that at each station, one?
Just at Station 1.
Just in Station 1. Thank you.
It's only 3 people. They'll work a 24-hour day. So this is the schedule they'd be on. There's either the 1 on 2 off or the California cycle. Either way, they work a 24-hour schedule, which is really nice because then you don't, under Fair Labor Standards Act, anything over 40 hours you're supposed to get paid overtime, unless you're a firefighter. Then it's anything over 53 hours. So with the 53-hour schedule, working 24 hours a day, they wouldn't get overtime because the downtime is built into their schedule. You follow me? They don't work them 24 hours a day. They're able to go to sleep at night, barring any runs.
But they're there.
But they're there. So they're kind of an exempt, FLSA exempt employee. And by doing this schedule, again, you'll have either the California schedule or the 1 on 2 off. You'll have a full-time firefighter there every day. They're going to get vacation time. Go to the next slide. We'll get to that in a minute. Daily staffing would be the 1 full-time employee and 2 paid on calls. The paid on calls currently work 12-hour shifts. So you have a day shift, night shift. Right now we have 2 in the morning, 2 at night. This would be 1 full-time employee, 24 hours, and you have paid on call, day shift, paid on call, night shift. Boy, that transition really messed that up. 2018, we budgeted $327,000 for duty shifts. 2019, we're budgeting 291,336. Because I'm just looking at the pay. I'm not looking at insurance or anything else, just the pay. This is how we'd end up paying them.
Did that jack that around?
Reformatting it.
What happened is I had the original one that you sent me
And that's
because of
what
the
yours-
internet, so I made a copy of it, so.
Anyways, the top pay for the firefighter would be $35,000 a year. This is horrible pay in the fire service. If you look at surrounding communities, surrounding areas, it's horrible pay. But it's a starting point. We actually have a 5-year plan that I hope to present over the next couple months. I'm just tweaking a few things on it right now. But in order to get to the 5-year plan, I need step 1, year 1, which this is where year 1 starts at. We base it at $35,000 a year. If they're a paramedic, they get an additional $2,000 a year paramedic bonus. Health insurance, line runs there, dental insurance there, life insurance, defined contributions, and long and short-term disability. That's single person, married, and family plan. Worst case scenario, it costs $50,274 for a family if he's a firefighter, or they're a firefighter paramedic. Next one. Yeah, it was supposed to be before. Anyways, comparisons of 2019 to 2018 budget. 2018 budget, 294,250. 58, that includes 111 for the full-timer, plus the additional paid on-call staff on the side. We budgeted 32,750 for administrative operations. That's Assistant Chief Cole's pay, as well as we have AORs in the department. Certain people are responsible for certain things in our department. So if it takes them 4 hours here, or 6 hours there, or 10 hours for training, that comes out of that account. And then we have $150,000 for the emergency callback, training, and PR events. Last year we budgeted 527. Again, we're projecting 442 to 445. Next year I'm requesting 441,336. How do we select the full-time employees? Full-time hires will come from within our department. They have to be a qualified firefighter. They have to be an EMT basic. Any of these candidates would apply for the position. I would pay for, out of our budget, them to take the CPAT test. CPAT is a candidate physical agility testing program. It's a nationally recognized program. It doesn't matter if you're California, Florida, Michigan, Nevada, it's the same test, same standards, same restrictions. That way there's no risk of, hey, you're my buddy, you're my pal. You're gonna pass this test. It's outside of our hands. We don't have any control over it. It's all on the employee if they can meet the minimum standards. Also, pre-employment physical and evaluation. That's a written and an interview program with the doctor that we currently use for CISD in the department, Dr. Daniloff. And then a selection process approved by the board if this is favorable. My staff has stepped up big time over the past 2 years. I know I say this all the time, that they work full-time jobs, plus they cover shifts, 12-hour shifts. Some of them do 2, some of them do 3 shifts if they need to during the week. It takes a lot out of them. It puts a lot on them. It puts a lot of stress on them and their families. This part of the budget's not completely popular with the staff. They think that we're working fine now. From my perspective, I have to protect the township. And by protecting the township, I mean if they are working the shifts and exceeding the hours, we're at risk of some sort of a labor suit. Not to mention working a full-time job and working these shifts. I'd feel horrible if they were getting off shift, going to their regular job, and we're just so exhausted from the night before that they fall asleep at the wheel. I've asked a lot of these guys. While it may not be popular, I think it's best for the department. And once we make the presentation for the 5-year plan, I think you'll see why. And this is very fair and very beneficial for both sides.
I like it, first of all, but I don't know if I like the idea, you said it too, that the $35,000, why aren't we putting more in there for that? If it's, I know it's a starting point, but is it the right, I mean, is it, in your eyes, is the right amount of money to pay for these people? Now, that my question is, these are full-time, they're gonna be your full-time firefighters, they still have another job?
That'll be up to them. They
But-
can work part-time at an ambulance company. Some of my guys work full-time, ambulance, part-time fire.
Okay, I'm
They
just
work
saying, I think,
full-time.
I don't, if you don't think it's enough, then I don't think it's enough. I mean, you said it's a good starting point,
Just like last year.
but
when-
I'm worried, is it $35,000, it isn't bad money until you start taxing, paying for your health care. Just like a starting teacher in the district, and where I work here in Valley, they start at $34,000 a year. They're probably making about, when all is said and done, probably about $25,000
Yep.
with all the stuff that's taken out. So my question is that gonna be enough for those people to live on?
Well, let me say this, just like 2018, I budgeted 527.
Right.
Because I had nothing to compare it to. This was a brand-new system for us. I really didn't have a year's worth of experience to it. Same with this. I could have planned it with just paid on call this year and been fine. This is a starting point. Once I get a year's worth of experience, can we look at making it a little more reasonable? Right now, North Oakland Fire, who just went to a kind of a similar system where they have a couple full-time guys and then they're augmenting with paid on call. Their firefighter EMT basics are $35,000. Their firefighter medics are $42,000. They already transport. I don't have those kind of revenues to lean back on. I mean, we do a little bit of transport, but we don't do a ton of transport. So for right now, I'm comfortable with these numbers to start with.
But I guess I see too, you're saving money anyways. From what, well, at least from what the budget, but you're less than you were the year before.
Just
So
in
why-
payroll.
So why couldn't you budget, a little bit more money for that payroll? I mean, so if you're talking
You're talking-
$15,000 more a year.
$111,000 for
Right.
payroll, and then you got $156 for benefits and everything
Right.
included. So you're saving money on payroll, but you're shifting
Sure.
those monies other places. And I've got the big pie to look at.
I know,
Cut it in pieces.
but in the big pie, if, I'm looking at $5,000 more, that's just my idea, so now I'm making $40,000. I'm just trying to look at the number after, if it was just $35,000 getting paid and nothing taken out, it's not terrible, not great,
I'm glad to hear you say that, because next year when
yeah.
if I can come back and say, this is how we figured out this year, I can tweak a little more into the salaries to make it more competitive. I will, but I gotta have that starting point. I have to have that beginning point
I
to
gotcha.
get.
And one more thing, I think the other thing is if they're working 24-hour shifts, how many jobs can they have? Maybe they're working part-time on an ambulance or something, I get it, but it's awful hard for them to go out and work another job. And then if they're working 24-hour shift, even though they might be sleeping at the department, getting to sleep like they would,
You
still
work
working.
5 days a week at the schools,
Yep,
40 hours a week, ballpark,
Yeah.
37 and a half, whatever it is. You work 20 days a month. Working a 24-hour shift, yes, they're working more hours a week, but it's only 10 days a month at this job because you're working 24
Okay.
hours.
okay.
It's based over
So there's a
time.
possibility of
Actually, 9 days a month.
another job, okay,
So it gives you more opportunity.
okay.
We looked at a couple different scheduling processes, doing just daytime coverage, 12-hour shifts with less people. We looked at options in order to keep, because they will be eligible for callbacks. So, car accidents, they'll be able to come back and make $9 an hour overtime. If they're working a 40-hour schedule, that takes it from $19 overtime up to $24 or $25 an hour overtime. I can't have a firefighter making more than my assistant chief,
Yeah, gotcha.
and that's considered.
Thank you, I just wanted, that's right, but that's how I feel, that's where I stand.
And let me just say, I've been in the fire service for 32 years. Of the 32 years, 20 of them were as a union executive board. It broke my heart to only be able to offer 35. I started 1890, and my starting pay was $26,900
Right,
in 1990.
yeah.
General question, how has the attitude continued to improve overall?
Yeah,
The relationships between old hard feelings and you as a new chief, is that getting any better yet, or is it improving, or?
I truly believe so. I've heard several comments from some of the staff, positive comments. We got a lot of guys that are stepping up to do events. We've got Alice training at the schools this week. I was afraid I was going to get 3 people to volunteer. I had 6.
Okay.
That's awesome.
I think if you look at overall activity, participation, involvement of the staff, absolutely things have gotten a lot better. There's still rough spots. Again, this wasn't, the full-time wasn't a completely unanimously supported program. Majority of them supported them. In fact, a couple of the older staff members supported it because of the goals that we wanted to get to.
Okay. So they participated in the scheduling opportunities that you presented, both the 2 schedules as far as the overtime goes and the shift goes.
I have an open door policy. One of my lieutenants was in my office way too much over the past 2 weeks.
Okay.
Talking.
They're anxious to help out.
Yeah. What about this? Yeah, but if you do this, then your overtime's 24, 25. I'm not going to allow them to do any callbacks.
Do they have some ideas about the 5-year plan at all, or
I'm sorry?
do they have any ideas about what the 5-year plan might be?
Yes.
As yet? Okay.
I put we talked about it at the last staff meeting, that not only this budget, but also the 5-year plan. Again, I got to tweak it before I present it to you guys.
Understand.
But
There's a general favorable consensus for
Yes.
that longevity, okay.
And the comment from some of the older staff was, it's for the best for the community. Maybe not us as a department, because now they're going from the ability to work 120 shifts a month down to 60. So they're going to take a little bit of a financial hit for the next year, 2 years, however many years it takes us to get the rest of the plan in place.
Okay, thank you.
I was just gonna say, I know you said something about, getting calls in the middle of the night. Can you give us an idea for how much trouble you're having covering shifts, or what is the frequency of that?
Night shifts isn't an issue. The biggest problem we're having is day shifts and then on weekends. Sunday mornings and Saturday night mornings.
And to what level are you experiencing those troubles?
It all depends on the time of year. Again, right now, we just had 2 or 3 come off probation. We have more people that are eligible to work shifts, so people are covering shifts right now. I've got one guy that's applying to go back as a consultant for Ford Motor Company, who works a lot of my day shifts. I just had another gentleman turn in his resignation, who works a lot of the day shifts. Our day shifts are going to be tough to cover over the next couple months.
Did
Right.
you have that same problem when they had 8-hour shifts?
I'm sorry?
Was that a problem when you had 8-hour shifts?
The
The
weekends?
coverage.
What,
Coverage in general, there are 12-hour shifts now. Some of the guys have a hard time doing 12 hours. Did you have the coverage challenge when you had them on 8-hour shifts?
that was before I really got here. I got here in August. I had probably 4 months experience with it. Did we have coverage? Yeah, sometimes we only had 1 person on duty. Sometimes we had no standards really set up previously.
This is a lot to digest. Can you furnish, at least I want, print out copies of this so we can kind of take a look at I couldn't see it very well on there.
Sure.
I'd like to look at it.
I
thoroughly.
will.
Was my big head in the way again? I'm sorry. I thought I was sitting back far enough.
You had a big head, but it's not that big.
Okay, thanks.
As soon as I sit down here, I'll forward them to the whole board.
Awesome.
So Ken, what is some of the complaints that the people have with this? Is it because some people are losing hours now and they're not gonna be getting as much? I don't,
Like when you said they went from 120 up.
That's part of the problem is the inability to work shifts. The other part of the problem is a lot of times in combination departments where you have full-time and paid on call, there's animosities built up. One of the experiences they generally refer to as White Lake. When the program first started, they had no problems because all the guys came from within. But as it got bigger and bigger and bigger and they started going outside because they couldn't get qualified candidates in, then these guys, 20-year-old snot-nosed paramedic firefighters come in and you're a volunteer. You don't know anything, even though you got 20 years doing the job. With us keeping everything inside, and that's the entire intention, is to keep any full-time employees hired from within. That way they know our system, they know our department, they know our township, they know everything there is about the department before they decide to take on the job. I think that's probably one of the bigger fears that they have, you know, a firefighter telling a lieutenant or captain what to do because he thinks he's entitled because of a firefighter. I don't think we'll have that with hiring from within. And then the other issue is, of course, the pay.
Okay, so they are going to be making less, you said, than some of them, because they're gonna have less
They'll
shifts.
have less opportunities.
Less opportunities. I did wanna comment too on the pension thing. I do like that plan, and I like, it's very true that you are training them and everything, and we need to do something to try to keep the people, instead of you training them so that they can go off somewhere else, and I do like that
Yeah,
plan. I
too.
think that was a good idea.
It's a good retention.
But I do like the fact that you're making the other people not be negatively impacted, those 11, and I hope that are they okay with that?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it was, there's unanimous support for that part of it.
okay,
Good.
that's
Again,
great.
It's probably 60-40 support for hiring full-time, 40% against. And a lot of it is, they just don't, there's a marked difference between day shift and night shift. Day shift, we have the 2 guys that are on duty, maybe 1 guy off duty, and then Chief Cole and myself to respond, and Sean. Night shift, anything that happens between 4 o'clock in the afternoon and 12 o'clock at night, you get 11 people show up. Day shift,
Oh, because
maybe
those
1.
people have day jobs, and
Yeah.
that's why,
Mhm.
okay.
So staffing's kind of tough, and I can't not hire this person because he has a day job. I still
Right.
need staff. We're still only at 34 firefighters.
Mhm. And I think that it is important for everyone to remember the fact that it is for the good of the community, and the
Right.
community that supported the firefighters by passing this millage, and they're showing their support for that they believe in the fire department.
And just to comment on that, everything that we're doing is, that's the main end goal, is to provide the best service possible for the 19,200 residents of the township. Whether it was in 2017 when we started providing 24-hour coverage, or whether it's 2019 when we change our coverage with end goals in mind. It's all for the benefit of the community.
And I think, to kind of make a clear point, when you have 11 people show up, it could be for something that's as simple, it could be handled by 2 or 4 people.
We have made last year we made a few changes, which caused a lot of heartburn.
Right.
We've backed off, they're called duty tones. We've backed off on a lot of them. But we're still having issues with the county putting out all calls for lift assists or stuff that the duty crews can handle. Work in progress, we'll get there. And we'll make the needed changes.
All right.
Say one more thing, I just want to say, I think you're doing a great job. I've
You
been
are.
I've been very impressed. I know you took over a hotspot situation, and it hasn't been easy. I know, I can read on your face some of the meetings you come in, you can just tell there's a stress level there, no doubt, and I think you've done a great job. I appreciate it, I know the board does, I appreciate everything you do, though. I think it's very proud of our fire department there, and it's just I'm very proud. I don't like seeing the trucks out there when they're going on a medical. Obviously, something bad's happened. I'm very proud to see those trucks. If that makes any sense. Proud to see those trucks out and moving and doing their thing, and I feel safe. So, thank you.
Ditto your sentiments. The guys are just amazing. They again, the amount of work that they're putting into this township, the department, not just now. I'm talking for the last
Sure.
however many years they've been here, 50 years for some of them. So, but thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right. I guess we'll move on to the next. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to the next step, which is our budget. You guys have had this budget for a couple of weeks now, and what we passed out tonight, we added another column called proposed difference, and it's to kind of give you the math so you can see the difference between what last year's amended budget was and this year's proposed. So the one thing I would like to take you right to is page 2. Our projected revenue total for this year is going to be $2,885,200. That's $144,347 more than last year, which is a good sign. The economy's growing. Our expenditure total is $2,682,951. That's $17,390 more than last year. But the differential between the two is between revenue and expenditures is $202,249. So we still have that much money in revenue over expenditures in this budget. And also want to make it clear that in this budget there's a 3% across the board raise for proposed for employees, and there's also in GGP, where'd that one go?
It's page 5.
On page 5 under
There.
defined contribution plan, there's allocation in there for some of the conversation we talked about returning a couple of the elected officials back to a previous defined contribution rate. And so that money is in there for that allocation. That, of course, is an item that'll be up for discussion, for sure. I mean, we'll have to consider that. So, on that note, is there anybody that, Mary Pat, you said you had a
Yeah,
bunch of
I just had
questions,
some
so-
questions. You know, I carefully read over all these different account titles, and some of them, maybe I should know them by now, but I didn't know what they meant. Like on page 1, this enhanced access fees.
That comes from the cable company,
Okay.
It doesn't-
isn't it? Where's that one
It's
from?
Oakland County.
Oakland County,
Oh,
okay, I'm
yeah.
sorry.
It comes from Oakland County. All the reports that people order online, we get a portion of those fees.
Oh, okay.
They call that enhanced access?
Yeah.
That's fine.
And then, like I asked Rick earlier, and he was kind of, like, under the police budget, we have, there is the,
Okay.
page 11, sorry.
Alright.
Okay, so there's the Oakland County Sheriff contract, and then there's also a line called mini contract. Yeah, the mini contract.
Oh,
So, you know, I just,
actually, you got the key
Mini
man.
contract, we just plug in, under revenue and under, we plug in 12,000. We offer mini contracts. We currently have a mini contract with Cornerstone Church up on Hickory Ridge and Clyde.
oh, okay.
So what they have to do is, they get a letter of agreement with the township. The county it's coming out of my budget, but they will eventually take it out of this line item. Right now, during the school year, when school's in session, they have a Wednesday evening youth group up there at the church. So they contract for us for like 2.5 hours on Wednesday evening. So I think every 2 weeks, they pay the township like $366 for our service.
And there's an officer that's there at the church?
Absolutely.
In the car or inside or?
In a
how's-
car,
Okay,
on overtime.
Okay.
It's billed at an overtime rate with a car.
thank you.
And you can look back at 2017's actual revenue from that. So we're well under, but I plug in 12,000 because There's been years where we've done a mini contract with Dunham Lake subdivision. We've done a mini contract with Crestwick. So right now, Cornerstone's our only mini contract, so we just plug in that 12,000 for a mini contract.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, I appreciate that.
And as far as my contract rates, the county hasn't established our contract rates. So they gave me like a 3 to 5%. So these figures that you're seeing are worst case scenario at 5%. You know, deputies and command officers with the county are in negotiations for contracts. Once they ratify those contracts, then our sheriff's department will come up with contract rates. And that has to get ratified through the Board of Commissioners and whatnot, and then I can bring a contract to you guys. From our chief financial officer, we're given that 3-5%, that it could be increased. So these rates you see before you are worst case scenario at 5%.
Thank you for explaining that.
You're welcome.
I think that's all I have right now.
Anybody else have any other questions?
I want to point out, I threw in that column for the proposed difference today, real
What
quick.
page again?
Well, it's
Throughout the whole
actually
thing.
on the whole report.
Oh, okay, the new one.
So, I'm noticing on the other funds besides general fund, on the revenue side, the formula, well, Alpine pages after general fund, so starting on, let's see, bus,
Page 6.
right, starting on page 6, whenever you see, starting with road fund, the formula needs to be fixed for the difference lump column on the revenue side. So I'll fix those.
Like, if you look at refuse fund, refuse collection, it comes out at 2,145,660. So the math doesn't work there, is that?
Yeah, I gotta fix it. It's doubling the difference instead of
Subtracting.
coming out right, yeah.
It's just a,
Mm-hmm.
Well, she did this at
The
kind of
night
the
tower.
last minute today, running
All
on,
power, yeah.
but I think you can see that we're doing covering our expenditures and still have adequate revenue left over. So there are some things, of course, that we'll look at like we have in the past, and maybe want to allocate something else to it. But I think we've pretty much covered the gamut here.
And both of the floaters are under a supervisor, you don't put any under clerks or treasurers?
Right. They kind of work for all departments, so it didn't
And we
make
left we left the part-time seasonal in the treasure.
right.
And the things we talked about, that you said that changes to the, elected officials, the,
Defined contribution.
yeah, defined contribution. What was that exactly that we're talking about that you put in the budget here then?
what line item?
So
Oh, that was under GGP,
Five.
defined contribution plan. The additional cost to revert that is an additional $22,654.
On page, and what is
Now,
that?
that covers 2 people at this time.
That's,
That would be just Rick and I.
some of this needs to be
Okay, yeah, okay.
determined by, we're gonna have to pass some motions in order,
That's what
if
I
we're
was
gonna
wondering,
adjust, compensation packages. And, we talked about presenting some motions at the next board meeting. And then depending on what the result of those decisions are, it will affect what these
The
numbers
next
look
draft.
like.
Okay.
So this is sort of a rough stab at it
okay,
until we
Until it gets finalized.
nail those things
Right.
down.
okay, because that's what I was wondering.
And trying to build in
Actually,
the quote maximum cost
Okay.
so that it doesn't.
So,
You have to.
so does this revert back to, sorry, I missed your conversation last time, but, the healthcare for family for
Right.
in-house as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
It's built into this. Just
Okay.
kind of see what it was gonna, like, worst case be,
okay.
and then, once
I just
we
wondered, 'cause
arrive at our
that number
decisions.
went down.
Well, we removed some people from our plan this past year
Okay,
with
with the
the
buyout.
increased buyout plan.
Okay,
We've had 5 people leave the township healthcare plan.
okay, so that's moved that around. All right, thank you.
I got older.
For all of those benefits, can you provide us with a spreadsheet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like the one you,
Yeah,
we produced
we always
before,
have.
yeah.
Mhm.
For
Yeah.
the budget workshops, it's helpful to me to see where it's all going and.
Sure.
We'll get that out right away so that you have more, because that's only a couple weeks away.
I know.
Yeah. for-
Yeah, I
And,
appreciated you getting this to us and gave us plenty of time to look over that.
Right.
Thank you.
Well,
It's
you're
a lot.
welcome.
If Ken could put that other report, the presentation and that in our boxes to let us know when it's in the mailbox and I can, because I want to print it out. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but,
Well, we can do both.
okay.
I mean, that,
Those are-
might as well do both.
It's good to do both.
So, and the one thing about Ken's report, I know he was working with current pay rates, and then for the budget, we were looking at all staff getting a 3% pay raise, so there may be a slight difference between his totals that he came to versus what you're seeing in
Because
here.
that would apply to them also.
Right.
Yeah.
Even with the pay rates, my final numbers came in $10,000 under.
Okay.
But the pay increases would be, according to what I have in the budget, which doesn't include EMS revenue, it'd be $1,000 over what we bring in from our normal revenue plus whatever we bring from the EMS revenue. Last year, we estimated $2,000. I think we're at $3,700 right now. So I still come in under budget. I do have one question, and I know this won't be a finalized budget until later on down the road. Unfortunately, the CPAT and a lot of the stuff that I have planned for the selection process, it's a time thing. My thought is I will draft something up with your review of it, saying potential for full-time positions, so I can start getting the guys through the CPAT if they want to apply for the job.
So what I think you're saying is that we should prior to you being able to move forward, pass a motion to approve the addition of some full-time jobs.
I don't think you need to do that. I can word the posting in my station stating that if the 2019 budget's approved. My only thing is I'm on a time limit. In order to get them through the CPAT as well as a psychological evaluation, CPAT's only offered once a month in Schoolcraft College. So for them to take it and potentially take a second time, which would be at their cost, if they have to take a second time, I need some time to start at least getting the process working. I'd like to post something for the potential for a full-time employee. Not saying we're gonna hire a full-time employee, but at least so I can spend the $125 each to send them to Schoolcraft for the CPAT.
When is the next one?
certification. I'm
When is
sorry.
the next one?
It's once a month. I think it's the 15th of October. Let me look at the calendar here.
Maybe we should check with Mr. Dobery and see what steps need to take place in order to do that. Are you worried about the budget, or are you worried about just
worried about
having the
getting the
permission?
Just get the
Timing.
process moving.
I'm worried about getting the evaluations done in a timely fashion so that they can be hired January 1st.
Do you have money already allocated for that expenditure?
I have line items, I have miscellaneous expenses, I believe it is.
So if they go for the training,
I can take it
whether
out.
we do the budget or not, it isn't gonna hurt anything, right?
Yeah, you should be able to do that,
Just
on your own without, we shouldn't have to authorize that particular part of it. I wouldn't think.
I would be more worried about
The training doesn't hurt them one.
finding out who's going for it. I gotta figure out some way to get it out to the staff. And if I phrase it as the potential for future hiring, if approved by the board or however.
Subject.
Subject to board
Subject to
approval.
budget approval, yep.
I don't want somebody from my staff getting, or seeing this up on the board, hey, it's not approved yet, then calling everybody on the board saying, hey, he's trying to hire these people anyways. I just want you to know that I'd like to send them for at least the CPAP portion of it, the psychological evaluation part, that Dr. Daniloff will work with and we'll be able to do multiple times during the week. But the CPAP, that's out of our hands, no control over it, and it's only offered once a month.
And that's the physical training
The physical
test.
agility testing.
And I don't know, anybody got a comment? I
Well,
don't see where that's an
if-
issue.
If
do
you wanna have them go to the training, just say that you're going to this training,
Is it
the
not
training, it's a
potential
test.
of the advancement is subject to the board, you know. I mean, they may not wanna go if they don't think that this is gonna happen.
See, I think this is kind of a day-to-day issue. In other words, from a management perspective, this is a day-to-day.
It
Component?
would be.
And so you're responsible for your day-to-day stuff. We're responsible to see that you don't blow your budget. That's about the extent of it. I mean, we don't have that responsibility to tell you what to do with your employees and how you
But
handle
Rick,
it.
I do think this is a really big change for that department. And it's a change for the community too. You know, this community is very proud of our paid on-call department. This is a huge change if we do full-time. And so I don't want to give the false impression to anybody at the fire department that that's the direction we're going until the board decides that that's what we're doing. So I don't care if they go for a training, but I don't want them thinking that this is a done deal and this is what's been decided, because it's not.
And that's
And
why.
I think we need to have a pretty healthy discussion about that, maybe put this on the agenda for the next board meeting, because, like I said, this is a huge change for Highland, and, I think we need some feedback, put it out as an agenda item so we can get public comment too.
And that was kind of why I wanted to bring it up during this meeting, because I don't want my staff thinking that I'm just planning on hiring willy-nilly anyways. If you get any calls, I gotta figure out some way to get it posted up there so that anybody that would want to be considered for this position would have to pass this test. Not training, it's a test. It's a physical agility test. But that will allow me to get those that I can in this month as well as next month.
Again,
It'll still be in time.
I don't see.
I think it's a
an
day-to-day
issue if you-
management
If you make
issue.
it clear to them that, you know, this is available, and it's really subject to the final approval of the board to finalize the, review of the fire revenue and expenses, all that.
Well, much like everything else, it's kind of like the phone call, you start at one end of the room and it goes all the way around. By the time it gets to you, I'm hiring them next week and they're gonna be making $75,000 a year, and
Well,
I just don't want.
If your wording is quite clear that nothing is in concrete until it's nailed down.
Right.
If they wanna take the option to take the class, that's up to them. But there is no guarantee of that until it's stamped.
Right.
I mean, I don't know, is there any issue with that?
And that's why I was asking if I draft this letter pending board approval of
I don't see
just
a
so I can
problem
get the
with
process started.
What's that,
Day to day, that's fine.
what's the
it.
cost
As long
for
as it's
each
crystal clear.
$125.
test? That's what I thought you said. Yeah, that's
So
nominal.
we
How
will,
long, oh, I'm sorry.
we will put it on the next board meeting agenda then to discuss, so that we can get people in the community know that this is gonna be up for, the board is gonna be discussing this, is that what?
Well, there's two items here. One is employees have an opportunity to take a test. The test can have consequences in two formulas. One is you pass the test, you're already pretty much declared as physically fit to continue on as a firefighter.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second level of it is, if we should decide to go full-time, you have accomplished what you need to meet those requirements. It's not stating at all that you're going to because you take this test, you will be hired as a full-time employee.
Right.
But in order to state that you're gonna have full-time employees, that's the discussion that needs to go on at, probably at the board level.
Board, yeah.
Not whether you wanna allow somebody to take a test, because we allow,
I think the
board
agility test is
trustees,
good anytime.
X number of dollars to take classes and, to become fit for this job, and we allow that for the planning commissioners, and so there's monies that are set aside to do that. Very similar thing, and I think that's the approach on that, so it's just,
They're just prepping for potential.
Why don't all of them take it anyway?
That's kind of where I'm at.
$125 a piece for 34 firefighters?
You got all that extra money in the budget. I mean, why, I don't understand why they haven't done it already. You
We
know,
we have an entry physical agility test we do right now. Starting in October, in order to bid on November shifts, you have to take our physical agility test, but it's not a pass or fail. It's to see where you're at. We've got members, myself included, that are not in the same physical shape that we were in 20 years ago, that may have a hard time passing it or may not pass it at all. But this is a local test that we do on our own. One of my firefighters is a personal trainer. He's helping us develop this program to establish a physical agility test locally that has a time standard on it. Again, it's not pass or fail, it's just to see where your weaknesses are. Here's where I need to work on my upper body strength, my endurance, whatever the issue is. Here's where this person needs to work on his lower body strength, whatever. We're in the process of doing that. But doing something locally is cost effective. Sending 34 people for a $125 test that I know a lot of them, myself included, probably won't pass because I'm 50 years old. I just quit smoking not just a short time ago. That kicked my butt.
well, what I was getting at is, for one thing, I don't understand why they wouldn't have to do that already to be a firefighter, whether it's on call or whatever. That for a one-time shot, the town or the department is gonna pay for this test if you wanna take it, without telling them anything more, for future jobs, period. Not
Future
depending on the
opportunity.
budget, not depending on full-time.
that's $4,250.
Yes,
How many would take it, though?
If everybody took it, it would be $4,200.
And then everybody would know exactly where they're deficient, to be able to,
Sure.
No, theirs is a pass fail.
Do you
If
think they would all
only make
take
two
it?
evolutions, and you can't make the second evolution, you can't make the first evolution, you're done.
Well, then that sets up their training to get there next time.
Well, how many would really want it to do
Yeah.
number one?
How many would actually do it?
Yeah. Yeah, so you, it's more of a selective thing by you saying certain people are gonna be eligible to do this. You're not gonna make everybody eligible for it.
Yeah,
I
I
think we'd
would
have 6
hesitate to
people.
put out that it's
Okay,
for
6.
full-time hire,
Agreed.
you know. But if you put
They
it
already
out
know-
there.
They already know this it was gonna be presented tonight. The staff knows that.
And you have about 6 people that could be candidates that could be eligible to take the opportunity if it comes up. Okay.
Yes.
I'd just throw it out for anybody to take it.
Okay.
Just tell
That'd be a
me you did this
recommendation. I mean, it's one of those things where then you're not being specific, but it
The
really
opportunity
does
there.
kind of give you an indicator of the degree that somebody will go to, for any of the, future level, whatever it might turn out to be, and then you're not being selective. I don't know, you have a better feeling maybe than I do, but, I think that would be the easiest way, is just say, we're gonna let all 30 of you take it, if you want to.
The main reason.
One
the main
concern
reason-
I have no problem spending my budget. And I try to be as tight and squeaky as possible. And now potentially we're going to
Try to bring it to conclusion. The main reason for the discussion is to make sure that you have the right craft, the right words, so they know it's not an automatic gonna happen.
Right.
That's all we're talking about. So make the right words happen, that it's clear that taking this test
Does not
is
automatically.
not automatically that this is gonna happen until the.
You know all 34 are gonna be going down
No,
there
I
to take
think we're
this,
done.
so you're not gonna be spending
talking debt.
4,250, you might be spending maybe on 6, 8, or 10 people, maybe. I mean, you know, what I'm saying, you probably know,
Yeah.
so.
So
And you
crap,
know, you said that they know you were gonna talk about it tonight, so yeah, tell them, we talked about it tonight, but the board came to no conclusions, they're gonna bring it up at the next board meeting, but, you know, you're throwing that out there.
And the
just
board
be
wanted
honest with
you to
them.
offer it to everybody.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe. Go that,
Good
put it
deal.
on
okay,
us,
you got it? Good, go, all right.
yeah.
What else?
I got a question. Talking next in 2019 about going for a bond school district. That was the rumor. I don't know if that's what they're thinking. We have nothing allocated for elections. Maybe you can educate me on. I mean, does the school district pay for that if it's a special? Is that why there's nothing in here? That's what I
Right,
thought.
it
Okay.
would be reimbursed.
Okay, never mind. I'll rescind my comment.
It's too late.
No, that's right. I
All
forgot
right,
about that.
any other questions on this?
Does that help you out, Ken? Are you okay then with what you
He's so
say?
confused, he doesn't know what to do.
I mean,
I'll figure it out.
you did.
More and more I think about it, the only people that are gonna go down and take it are the ones that would be interested in applying for it.
Exactly.
Right.
Right,
But
because it
you're not-
sounds pretty challenging.
But you're not telling them that. That's it. Just, you know, it's offered for potential future.
Yeah.
No promises.
Put it on us.
Okay,
If I have 34 people go down there and take the, 33 people, I'm going down.
Well, you know, Dick Cole's not going. 32.
I'll be really disgruntled next board.
You know, you and Dick won't be going, so that's okay. 32.
you're not gonna let Haley
31.
have one
John's
over
not
on
with it.
I says, you're not gonna let Haley have one over on you.
Oh, yeah, I'm okay with that.
He's like, I'm not good with that.
Okay, so on that, with little or no additional comments, then I guess we can adjourn until the next meeting. What we'll do is we'll get those documents out to everybody that we discussed here. And Chief, you'll get yours out, and then we'll get the compensation spreadsheet out.
I did already email it to everybody, but you want a hard copy of it, rather than PowerPoint?
I'm good with I can print it if I need it, so.
I don't need a hard copy.
Yeah, I'm good with the email.
Electronic's fine with
Save
me.
the
Mary
money,
needs a
paper.
hard copy.
I mean,
Who else needs a hard
I'll send it
copy?
in 2 minutes.
Raise your hand.
where's my?
Oh.
Mary liked one, and I'm good. I gave it mine.
I'll print it up right now, I think.
One for Mary, one
All right,
for somebody.
meeting adjourned.
Yeah, 2 minutes for Tammy.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.